Very interesting news coming out of India. Apparently, 200 workers took revenge against their boss, the CEO of the company they were working for, over a dispute about the number of hours that they were working. Supposedly, according to the story, 200 workers stormed the offices of where the CEO was. They entered the place and beat him to death with iron rods and rocks. Now, this took place on West Bengal, which is a section of India which has a lot of kind of manufacturing like this. They make rope and stuff like that. So far, the police initially arrested 3 people, and then the next day, Monday, they arrested 2 more. Funeral services will be held for the person killed, but this demonstrates something very important that's going on in India. The man's name was HK Maheswari. He had denied their early request to work and be paid for 40 hours a week at the Northbrook Jute Mill instead of the current norm of 25. He also proposed shutting down the mill for 3 days a week to limit mounting financial losses, according to the factory's general manager, Kranjit Singh. Now, West Bengal is known for its highly militant labor unions who are known for using violence when situations like this come up between the workers and the capitalist. Now, the family, the people who are connected to the man who was involved with who owned the factory, said that they think that this was kind of like a plot by political opposition forces. Now, those opposition forces have claimed that they had nothing to do with it. This wasn't set up by them, and this was just a spontaneous act of violence carried out by the workers over grievances they had with management. This is the kind of thing that we should be expecting from capitalism. Workers in the third world are paid very, very poorly compared to us. Their pay is very, very low. If we lose like a few hours a week, generally we can still make our rent. We're going to have to way cut back on the luxuries we have. But when you cut that many hours on a person in the third world, particularly like the living conditions in India, you're looking at losing your food. A little bit of a loss of hours, because they make so little per hour, is a much bigger loss than we suffer if we get our hours cut back in the first world. And that's one of the differences that should be noted here. That shows a lot of the value transfer that goes from the third world to the first world, that the loss of a few hours has such a much more major impact in third world workers than it does for first world workers. And this also shows much more of the antagonisms between the capitalist class and the working class. For these people, you could see that their cut is a drastic drop in their income to the point where they might not be able to eat, they might not be able to feed their families. So for them, it's a much bigger issue than a few hours caught here. And it's this difference that leads the third world proletariat to be much more revolutionary, while we are not. We are happy to take this kind of cuts and then go on some kind of social benefits that are there for people when this kind of thing happens. But they don't have that. They lose more when the system goes down. When we lose the same amount of hours, they lose more. And this forces them to be more class conscious about the situation that they're in. And we shouldn't be surprised that when recession happens, or when cutbacks happen, or when demand drops, that it's really the third world worker who bears the brunt of that. It goes from top to bottom, the least amount of effect to the most amount of effect. So we should not be surprised that when there's a drop in demand like this, it's the third world worker who takes a bigger hit than the first world worker. And that shows the dynamic of the class difference between first world workers and third world workers. Now, these workers were probably very rightful in their desire to do so. And this kind of thing needs to happen more often. There needs to be less outright killing and more seizing of the means of production. And that we need that kind of transformation to go from one society to another where this isn't the kind of thing that happens. They need to cut the first world off from their supply of cheap labor, produced for themselves in a socialist system. It is only by our use that they continue in these kinds of oppression. And that's a point that needs to be kept here, and not just simply reduced to the fact that there was a capitalist fighting with the workers, and this is an expression of that antagonism between them. There was a global antagonism here as well, and I think I laid that out pretty well. And this is one thing that's going to be lacking from many Marxist analysis of this situation. Thank you for watching. Please comment and rate the video. If you liked it, hit subscribe or check out some of these other great videos. If you wish, share it on social media. While you're at it, why don't you follow me on Twitter? And if you got time, go on over to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available.